Be damned. It's a white wolf.
Liam, this is a huge role to be taking over, as you know. At what point in the process, did you kind of feel like you really became Geralt for the first time and really kind of embodied the character?
I had a good few months before I stepped on set and we actually started shooting to prep and to try out the costumes and the wigs and learn the sword fighting and rehearse with these guys. By the time I stepped on set, I was feeling really good, and the first thing I shot was on my own, and it was a sword fighting scene against the Kikimoras and baby Kikimoras and the big Kikimora. Those first days are always daunting, and there's a lot of energy behind it, but I felt like I'd had a really good chunk of time to get to know everyone and to dig into the character and the world, and by the time I stepped on set that day, I was feeling really good. And, I've been doing it now 2.5 years. And the more it goes on, the more connected you become with this character. And you're sort of living and breathing in this person's head for such an extended period of time. You guys have been doing it for 7 years or something now. It's a very intimate situation for you to live with a character and experience everything they're going through.
Obviously, we have a new Witcher this season, a new Geralt in Liam Hemsworth. Lauren, can you speak a little bit to kind of the discussion around, how much you wanted to allude to that change on screen and, kind of make it a thing?
In our minds, we did allude to it slightly, which is in the opening sequence of season 4, because we wanted to not dance around the fact that this is a new human being. Yes, there's still yellow eyes. Yes, there's still sort of the silver wig, but at the same time, it's played by Liam now. And I think for us, it was about revisiting these really important moments in Geralt's life and now seeing them embraced by a new human and then moving on. It's our hope that what you really start to see in episode 1 is Geralt, not the actor that plays Geralt. And I think that was sort of Liam's commitment to the role.
Yeah.
And it worked out beautifully.
Yeah, he does it. Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah, he just really sunk into character. So then we didn't feel the need to continue to address it.
And you've met Geralt?
That's bold of you.
And did you have Liam actually go back and kind of film those pivotal scenes? Like, how did you make that recap?
Yes, we reshot pivotal moments. That was always scripted. We always knew that we wanted to do it. And we also wanted to play with the idea, which is a huge thematic in The Witcher, of how stories change, depending on who is telling them. So obviously that opening sequence is played, there's a device. And you sense that, maybe everything that we've seen over the last 3 seasons has been through someone's POV. Maybe that's not actually how it happened.
Yeah.
We constantly love to be playing sort of with the idea of narrative with our audience.
The Geralt-Yennefer relationship is obviously very important to the show, and I think you really kind of built up that chemistry so beautifully in the first few seasons. I'm wondering, Anya, how was it kind of, rediscovering that dynamic now with Liam as Geralt?
Well, I think it's, you always come back to story. These two people mean a lot to each other, been through a lot together, and they're fighting for their child. I'm kind of in a very different place this season to anywhere I've been in previous seasons as Yennefer, on a very separate journey to these guys. We've all got very kind of individual experiences, all heading towards, for Geralt and I, heading towards the same thing. And with the amount of fear that I was carrying as Yennefer, it was so important for Geralt's presence in Yennefer's mind. And so when they do come together in this season, I hope fans feel what that means, because it meant a lot.
Ciri also had a very eventful season, for better or worse. Freya, how was it sort of discovering a new side of Ciri, informing that relationship with Mistle, and how do you think the tragic end is going to kind of shape her moving forward?
It was really interesting. I think I went into it, I knew there was a lot of discussion about this relationship between Mistle and Ciri. It's kind of a controversial one online, and there's a lot of conversation around it. And I actually felt like it was really important to maintain some of that. I wanted it to be complicated, and I didn't want it to be perfect. I didn't want it to be, a fluffy little romance. Mistle is a character that really enables us to see parts of Ciri we haven't seen, and really shows a different kind of vulnerability in her, and is also a big part of her saying goodbye to her childhood. And I think, Mistle is also the one who's confronting Ciri with the fact that, Ciri's trying to run from her past and push it all away and become this different person and just lean into this anger she has towards the world. But Mistle is kind of the one who comes in and says, you can't just run away from who you truly are. You have to kind of, in order to find who you're going to become, you kind of you can't just run away from that past. There's a push and pull there, and I think we really get to see how desperate Ciri is to not be alone.
Joey, how excited are you that Jaskier got a full-blown musical number this season?
I found it quite daunting. I spoke with you and with the rest of the production team to try and figure out how best to do this. And thankfully, a lot of the work is done for me by our choreographer, Shelley, and all the wonderful essays and dancers that basically just make me look good at it, which really helps.
You're so humble, and that is so not the truth.
But I
did amazing work.
Thank you, that's kind. I tried very hard because it was quite a big step for Jaskier to really address mortality and legacy in one big. I know that the main chunk of the musical is largely about how he was wronged many years ago, but the message of it is what is an artist's legacy once you're dead, and him battling after a pretty horrible wound with those demons.
Now, Jaskier also has a pretty awkward and then very tense reunion with Radovid this season. How did you feel about, filming that reunion, and do you have any hope for that couple in the future, that they might, figure things out?
We talked about it a lot. We really did, and Hugh Skinner, who plays Radovid, is one of the most incredibly insightful, talented human beings that came to the set with this insight and with this, as I've said to you before, but he honestly has a way of looking at you and you feel like he just can see right through you. And so when it came to that scene, which is, for me, it was my favorite scene to play in season 4, Hugh and I sat down with you and with Tracy and with a few other people, and we were like, I think we can we go for it? And you were like, yeah. Go
for it.
And summon up everything that you've ever wanted to say to an ex in your entire life. And we did. We really tried to pitch that scene as so varied and as so fluid. And it's about a constant exchange of power that is being battered backwards and forwards in the space of about 3 minutes. It was joyous to play, but it did mess me up for a few weeks afterwards.
I think it's an incredibly, in this high fantasy world, it's an incredibly human relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things that we always resist on The Witchers is the urge to tie things in a bow and have it be nice.
Yeah.
And I think, throughout season 4 and season 5, Radovid continues to be a player in the continent, and it is, I think when it's human, it really is about two people who see each other in a way that no one else does.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean happily ever after, unfortunately. But it does mean that there is a vulnerability between the two of you that I think is so, so beautiful. And as you said, so sort of heart-wrenching, which we saw when you guys were performing those scenes.
Nimue is now kind of taking over, the storytelling of the show, and certainly feels like she has her own story to tell that is hardly finished, just getting started. What can you say about kind of her place on the show, moving forward?
Absolutely nothing.
That's on our big list of spoilers. What I will say is that you are absolutely right. She is a player in our world, and we begin to understand that she actually has stakes in this as well. She's not just a person who's telling a story. And she's actually a huge fan of Jaskier's, which we learn later on. So.
Who isn't?
Who isn't? You're right.
He's still living inside me.
Regis is a really fascinating character. What ultimately kind of drew you to this character? Because it is so unlike anything you've ever played.
That's it. It's so unlike anything I've ever played. I think the genetic alterations, that's the most interesting piece to me. This guy is not a typical vampire in the way that we know vampires, right? They're made by a vampire. This guy's like genetically altered, which is an interesting idea for me. And that he's half a century old also is very interesting. Gives you a lot of runway,
You are new to the show, but it was also, Liam Hemsworth's first season. So how was it sort of working together and forming that dynamic? Because they really do, those characters have such an interesting sort of bond.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were both, new to the cast. And there's a challenge that comes with that, and I think we both have great admiration and respect for each other as men and as actors, and we were able to bring that to our roles as well.
As we kind of look into the final season, what are your hopes for Regis moving forward? Like, what are you kind of excited?
The things that are coming in season 5 are even more mind-blowing than the things that are happening in season 4. I wish I could tell you about them, but I've been sworn to secrecy. But I will tell you that there are a lot more things that go bump in the night in season 5.